Holding by an Amar Mar on Kufchaf Beis. Is that correct, Reb Naftali? 122. A.
Are we starting at the Mishnah?
The Mishnah where?
On Kufkaf Beis, Amud Beis?
Oh, no, we didn't get so far.
Oh, okay.
So far, yeah. Okay. We only learned one day. We didn't learn both days. We only learned on Shmini Atzeres. We learned on Shabbos day.
Okay. We're on Kufkaf Beis, Aleph, is this?
It's about 10 lines from the bottom.
Okay, thank you.
Amar Mar. Hashem, if you're able to learn Aleph, you have to turn back one page. Thank Hashem that you're able to learn Torah every day. It's about learning. Have the base of Migdash immediately. Learning Lula Nishma, Tzavadal the Baspar Yaman and Mistan Sad bin Sim. And Refuah Shlema for Avin David Ben Sarah and Gedali Getzel Eliezer ben Tzipara. Okay. Oh, Shmuel, sir. Other Bachim came? Or just Shmuel? Okay, so we're on Kuf Chaf Beis Amud Aleph. It says Amar Mar. We learned before Eretz Yisrael, Asid Eretz Yisrael, Shetes Chalak L'Shleish Asher Shvatim. In the future, when Mashiach comes, Eretz Yisrael is going to be divided to 13 tribes. Idach Laman, who's the 13th? Right? We said Tanya on the top of the page, Eretz Yisrael, now we go back to explain it. So who is the 13th? So Amar Rav Chisda says Lenasi. Lenasi, it's going to be for Melech HaMashiach. Okay? Make sense? Mashiach is going to get a portion. All of Israel is going to get 12, and he's going to get a whole portion on his own.
Like,
I don't know. Shalom's asking, where would Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov go under which Shevet? I don't know. Sure, every Shevet would let them in.
what seems to be going?
So the Ksiv, the pasuk says, "Oived hayir yavdu mikol shivti Yisrael." Oived hayir sounds like the city worker. Yavdu who? They will serve him from all of the tribes of Israel. Okay, that means everyone, all the tribes are going to give him a portion. The city, the Oived hayir, the Gemara is translating here to be the Nasi, because the responsibility of the whole city is on him. That's why he's considered the city worker. Maybe it's just a regular day worker. Now, the word runger, the Rashbam says, is a hired laborer. And he brings Rabbeinu Chananel that says rungar. Run in Persian means a day, and gar means a rented. So he's rented for a day. He's hired for a day. Maybe it's just a regular day work. How do you know it means the nasis? It says leisal kadai. Don't think like that. The ksiv, it says va'naisel nasi mizem mizel chumas hakedesh lachuzasir. What's left over goes to the prince, goes to the nasi. From this and from this, from the chumas hakedesh, from what's separated to be holy, and from achuz ha'seir, from the portion of the city.
You talked about the number of shvatim, like you always count 12.
We have 13.
13.
Yeah, that's what we're discussing. Who's the 13th? We said the 13th is the Mashiach, is the Nasi. Yeah. Now the Gemara says, This is like also a marmar. We're going back to explain something. No, it was
They're a
one
tribe,
of
but they
the
don't
Menashe Ephraim will get two. Levi doesn't get.
So like if you count by tribe, you count Levi, combine a front, when you count the allotment of lands, you remove Levi, side,
Right. Yeah.
from it.
Right. Exactly. So it says it was divided by money value. Where it says, well, Shenemar, the pasuk is Shenemar bein Rav Lama, whether a lot or a little. It says Lamai. What does it mean that it was divided by money value? Are we talking about that everyone got the same amount of land? And if one person got a bad piece of land, inferior quality, so then he would be paid by the one that had the superior quality because of the difference in value. It says, if that's the case, is that what we're talking about? We're dealing with fools, that they would take money instead of a proper land. No, we're talking about inheritance here. We wouldn't take a payment of money in exchange for what the person gets as a proper inheritance. It says, we're talking about the land had to be divided by the value, and everyone needs to get the proper value.
Years will go back.
Tell me again.
50 years will automatically go
No,
back.
we're talking about when they're taking the land in the first time, when it's becoming their inheritance. Yeah, but now we're talking about when did the Shvatim get it the first time? How was it divided? So the Gemara was thinking that maybe one tribe got a very poor sort of land, inferior quality, but the other tribes paid him some monies to satisfy him. It says that would be his eternal inheritance, and he gets some money. So that doesn't make sense. So it says rather we're talking about distant or close to Yerushalayim. That itself had a certain value, but that we're not talking about what the land produces and that sort of value. We're talking about just it was a benefit to be close to Yerushalayim. Ketanai, as it says in the Brisa, Rabbi Eliezer, like this here between Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yeshua. B'ksafim halur, that everyone wanted to be closer to Yerushalayim. How did someone get all the way up, in the north and there? How did they satisfy him to take that land that's so far away? They said they gave him money. Rabbi Yeshua, Rabbi Yeshua says b'karka elor, that they gave him property. They got a little extra property. Take the land that's more distant. Okay, now it says, but it was only divided. We're going back again to discuss what we said in the Brisa, that it was divided by lottery. Shenemar ach begeirol, as the pasuk says, ach begeirol, just by lottery. It says Tana was taught in a Brisa, ach begeirol. When it says ach, that's coming to exclude something. What is it excluding? Yossi Yeshua v'Kalev. It's excluding Yeshua and Kalev. They didn't get with the lottery. It says Lamai. What does that mean? Doesn't mean that they didn't get it all. Yeshua and Kalev didn't get a portion. It says Hashta delav tidu shakel didu mi bai. They even got the portion that wasn't theirs. Remember, Yeshua and Kalev, it says that they got the portion of the Meraglim. So they got 10 extra portions. And now you want to tell me that they didn't get their own portion? Of course they did. They didn't take it by lottery. It was their portion was only by the word of Hashem. Probably means the Urim V'Tumim, right? Yeshua diksiv al pi Hashem nasan le'yasir ashashal es timnas serach bahar Ephraim. I'm not sure if I'm reading the pasuk right. Yeshua, his portion, it says he got the city that he asked, Timnas Serach in the mountain of Ephraim. Ksiv Serach, Ksiv Cheres. It says that this is actually where he was buried. it says in one place, it says that the city was called Timnas Serach. Another place it says Timnas Cheres.
Kalev married, I think, Yoshua.
Kalev, I think, was married to Miriam, right? Was Kalev married to Miriam?
Yes.
Was that the one? But here it says Serach, and it also says Cheres. Now, every once in a while we have these words like Kesev or Keves. You know, it's a sheep, and letters get interchanged. So what is this? But what's the significance of this? Amar Rabbi Lazar says, "Betchila periseh kecheres, l'basayf periseh masrichen." Originally, the fruits were so dry, they were like clay. The word cheres means clay, but serach means to spoil. So originally they were so dry, it was like clay, and at the end, the fruits were so full of moisture that it says spoil, but it doesn't mean spoil. It means that it was like oozing out with the oil.
Did the Urim Between give the allotment of land to the Shvatim west of the Jordan? Because you had Ruvain, Gad, and Manasseh, and they voluntarily picked up that. That's generally.
I'm not sure how it went. Ikadamri, the others say Betchila Masrichen Basayf Kecheres. That's the opposite. Originally, it was spoiling, but at the end it became drier and it became like just the perfect, just right. That's the Ikadamri. Okay, Kalev. What about Kalev? His portion. The Ksiv, it was written, "Vayitin LaKalev eschevron kasher diber Moshe v'yerish misham eshleish b'nei anak." That he got, Kalev was given Chevron, and it says that he inherited over there from the three giants, the children of the giants. Remember, Kalev. Chevron was took the land that they had.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Sorry. Yeah. So the Gemara says Chevron near Miklatave. Chevron was a city of refuge. We have a source for that from somewhere. It says in Yeshua that Chevron was a city of refuge. So how was it given to Kalev? Amar Abaya Parvraha. Am I reading that correctly? Yeah, which means that it was given to the Kohanim. Very good. Let me read it. Parvaraha. What do they tell me about this? From the Middle Persian parwar, meaning surroundings. Okay. This is talking about all the areas that are around the city that Kalev got. That was part of his inheritance. Okay. Did you bring this? Okay. Says like this. The new Mishnah. We're on 122b of the Mishnah. Says whether it's a son or whether it's a daughter, they get an inheritance. Ella, but the only thing is, when it comes to getting a firstborn, the double portion, he only gets a double portion from his father's inheritance. He doesn't get a double portion from his mother. So he's going to inherit his father and his mother, and he only gets the double from the father. The Gemara is going to have a problem with this word Ella, because an Ella is supposed to be like modifying something that was just said and has nothing to do with what was just said. So what else? Also, the daughters, they get food from the father's inheritance. Because the sons get the property, but the daughters get sustenance. They get sustained from the father's property, but not from the mother's property.
They're single and married.
Yeah, if they're single and not married, very good.
10,000 or more, it was determined that there was different. Like what the inheritance from the father was different.
Right.
Then more recent, they brought down like the example of the people, but it kind of makes it like equal.
The son and the daughter are equal, not the father and the mother.
No, the son and like the brothers and sisters are equal.
Right.
And then now it's
Yeah, but you see, there's two things here. There's the father and the mother, there's the son and the daughter. Father and the mother have property. The son and the daughter are inheriting from the father and the mother. Right? If they're sons, then the daughters don't inherit. If there are no sons, then the daughters inherit. Now,
but that was because from the
it says
example,
if there's no son, then the daughters inherit.
but for the example of Ephraim, it looks like they're equal. Like, oh, because if they had a daughter, they don't have to leave.
Yeah, from Yibam, there was a, what was it, a Kavchaimer that we brought from Yibam? But
The last thing, which
Yeah.
I was thinking that if it wasn't for the other puzzle, it would be like divided equally across. Both.
yeah, so the Gemara before said that the daughters of Tzlachad proved it from Yibam. That was the proof. Then Hashem agreed. What was Moshe's question? Moshe's question was, did they get a firstborn portion? Well, the girls get a firstborn from their father's firstborn, right? That was their question. So yeah, but there's no problem there, is there? They
No,
there's
but then it's bringing it back again. I thought it was like already resolved. It was still
so which part over here are you saying is bringing it back? Which part?
on the fish. They're subject to the same law.
Oh, a son and a daughter are subject to the same laws. Okay, so yeah, so wait for that. That the Gemara is going to discuss. Okay. You'll see. Okay. The Gemara asks straight away, what is the meaning of Echad Ben Vechad Bas Lanachla? What is the meaning of that of this Mishnah? You see where we're at? 122. What's the meaning of this phrase in the Mishnah? Do you mean to say that they're going to inherit together? But we learned in the Mishnah before. Ben Kaidim Labas and Kol Yetzirei shall Ben Kaidim Labas. We learned this before. What do you mean? That you want to tell me that the son inherits? Actually, you want to tell me that a daughter inherits when there's no son? We learned already before. Okay, now Siman Nafsham. We're going to have several rabbis that are going to step in to give interpretation for what the Mishnah means, and I think it's a mnemonic for their names. I think that's what's happening. Amar Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak. We start with the Nun, which is Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak. It says, "Hachi Kamar." Let me tell you what the pshat in the Mishnah is. The Mishnah says whether a son or a daughter with inheritance. What he means is like this. The Mishnah means, "Hachi Kamar echad ben vechad bas noitlin baroik b'muchzak." A son and a daughter can both take from potential property as if it's already owned. Now, the example that we're going to be using for this is Tzlafchad. Tzlafchad is the son of Chefer. All right. So, and then the daughters of, because there's no sons to Tzlafchad, the daughters are going to inherit. Now, Tzlafchad passed away first, before his father, before Chefer. So now, when they come to inherit, the daughters come to inherit. Because Chefer passed away then afterwards, the daughters want to inherit. They're not only going to inherit from Tzlafchad, but they want to inherit from Chefer. In other words, how are they inheriting from Chefer? Because their father had potential property that was coming to him. He never really got it because he passed away early. So that property is considered roy. It's potential to go to tzlafchad. It's coming from Chefer. But if Chefer would have passed away, and then tzlafchad passed away, and then so which means Chefer, his property went to tzlafchad, and then tzlafchad passed away, and then the daughters inherit. That would be muhsik. That would be property that tzlafchad had. But tzlafchad never had that property. It was coming from Chefer, and he passed away early.
That makes these. So, two. That's one mother and a four-room house class.
Oh yeah, yeah.
They don't look like that. The argument is who died first. They don't look like the guy gets the
No,
inheritance
because
who
over
died first.
there, if the son died first, who was it in that Gemara? It was a son and a mother, and the argument was between the father.
Between the sons and the mother sister.
Oh, okay. So if the mother died first, then the son would be the first to get the mother's property, right? Yeah.
So the argument
Oh,
is on
I
the
see what
mother's
you're
property.
asking. You're asking. Shalom is asking a very good question. He's asking that in some cases, we see that who dies first makes a difference, right? That there was a story in Mafkid where there was a house that collapsed, and there was a son and a mother in the house, and there were the inheritors of the son were saying that the mother died first, and the inheritors of the mother, the sister, the brothers of the mother, that family, right? They were saying that the son died first. So you see, it would make a difference for how it works. So I think what's happening is when it comes to father son in the direct line, I think we say that there's potential, there's right. But when it comes to when it goes off the direct line, I think that would be a difference. Unless there's another
So
clear
what's
difference.
his name?
Slafa.
He didn't have any siblings,
He did.
so they should technically have four.
So
Father and no siblings.
father, the siblings, Slafad's siblings, got a portion of the father's. So they should have inherited Slafad's portion. No, first the daughters get before the siblings.
But also shouldn't fathers brothers then block him from getting it.
No, they get a portion.
Father.
Yeah, but
Yeah, and they're
they
brothers,
just
and he passed.
no, but it goes down first. So you're saying Chefer's children,
Passed
others'
away,
children.
get blocked. Cut.
Oh, you're saying so Tzlafchad shouldn't get. Shalom's asking that that since the brothers may have been alive when Chefer died. So when Chefer passes away, so because one brother had passed away, so maybe that should the Tzlafchad, so maybe the inheritance shouldn't go to him, right? And shouldn't get passed on. But the way it works is that it goes, each brother gets, and then it goes down if that person
And in
passed away.
case this building up, they don't go like that. Passed away, it's insane. It's technically supposed to go in.
If the mother passed away first, then it goes to the child, right?
Child passed away, it's gonna be the
Child
same thing that
passed
happened
away.
in the other. To go right back down still. Huh?
Otherwise, what of the husband?
If the child passed away, and then the mother passes away, so then you're asking why doesn't the child inherit the mother automatically? It should go to his children. Go to his children. Yeah, good question. I have to think about it. Let's learn this Gemara, then I'll stop. Yeah.
Following the opinion that they, I guess, divided by the
Wait, but
Yeah, but it's not going to matter, is it? Is it going to matter in this Gemara? Right now, we're just talking about that a son gets or a daughter, they get the inheritance from the father that was potential coming to him, right?
Kefir was the one that passed away violating Shabbos.
Tzlachad passed away.
Oh.
And Chefer was his father. Tzlachad passed away first.
Oh,
And nevertheless, the daughters are getting the portion of Chefer as if it was inherited. Chefer also didn't enter the land. What we said was that even if according to the opinion that it's divided by the people that entered the land, but it gets passed back to the people that left Egypt and then re-inherited again, right? All right. So, Hanami, it says if that's what you're telling me, you're just teaching me that you get baroi. It says Hanami Tanina. We have a Mishnah about this as well. It says B'nais Tlafchad Natlush Leish Chalak Menachla. I have the Mishnah earlier said this. Why is this Mishnah coming to teach me exactly the same thing that the Mishnah earlier said? It says Vaid my Ella. Now the Gemara throws in. What do you mean by Ella? Only the son and the daughter inherit. Only the firstborn gets from the father, not from the mother. What do you mean only? Okay. They weren't talking about the father's inheritance or the mother's inheritance. They're talking about a son and a daughter inheriting. Ella Amar of Papa, rather of Papa says, he's the next answer. He says, Hachi Kamar. That even though it's not a son that's inheriting from the deceased father, it's the daughter that's inheriting. But nevertheless, if the father had a double portion coming to him, the daughter can get that double portion as well. In other words, we don't say that the double portion gets dropped when it's coming to a daughter. In the case of Tzlafchad, Tzlafchad was the firstborn of Chefer, but Tzlafchad's not alive, so it's going to go to his daughters. And I could have thought that maybe the daughters only get from the father a regular portion, but they don't get a firstborn portion. And it turns out that they do. Okay, so the Gemara says, Hanami Tanina. 1 second, that exact Mishnah that you told me teaches the same thing as well. And Tzlafchad was a Bechar, and they got a double portion, so we know that as well. What does it mean? We're asking, what is our Mishnah telling? So we have another answer here from Ravashi. Alam Ravashi says, Achi Kamar. This is what it means to say. Echad ben abanim. Echad bas ben abanis mama yirish kol nachasi dvarv kayamin. That a person has the ability, we mentioned this once in passing, a person has the ability to avoid the inheritance from going to everyone by choosing just one inheritor and saying that person is going to inherit everything. As long as that person was meant to inherit something according to the Torah, so then he can say, okay, that person's going to get everything, make a will according to this opinion, and give it all to one of the inheritors. So the Mishnah is saying, Echad ben ve'echad abas benachla. You could choose one of the sons to get the whole inheritance. You can choose one of the daughters to get the whole inheritance, as long as there were no sons then. Then the daughters inheriting by right. And come on, who is this like? Rabbi Yechon ben Bereika. This follows the opinion of Rabbi Yechon ben Bereika. That's what our Mishnah is saying. It says, Hakatani Lola, come on. But 1 second, we have a Mishnah later that says, Rabbi Yechon ben Bereika, Im Amar al Misharayli Yarsha Dvarv Kayamin, Mishain Rayli Yarsha in Dvarv Kayam. That we have a Mishnah later. So why do you have to say that here? Now, this is different than the previous questions. The previous question was, you said that before. Why do you have to say it again? Here, we're asking, you're saying it later. Why do you have to say it now? Well, okay. The Chitema, this we can answer. Say, Sasamlan, kasasam lan Rabbi Yechim ben Breka. Well, maybe later on it's machlekes. And here it wanted to tell me that this is the halacha. So it gives a stam. Stam means an anonymous mishnah. It gives us an anonymous mishnah to teach me that this is the halacha. The Gemara says, 1 second. Stam v'achakach machlekes, stam v'achakach machlekes, ein halacha stam. It's exactly the opposite. When you have an anonymous mishnah, that is the halacha only if the machlekes was beforehand. Sort of like paskening. You have a machlekes and then you pasken. You have a stam. But if you have a stam, an anonymous mishnah, and then afterwards you see a machlekes, you're saying what I told you before is not so simple. There's another opinion. It sounds like the halacha is not like the stam, right? It's so v'oid my ella, and also according to this, what does it mean ella? In the Mishnah it says ella, rather only ella amar mar barabashi. So now we have all the whole siman. We had the nun for Nachman bar Yitzchak, the pei for Papa, the shin for Ravashi. Now the mem is Mar Baravashi. Mar Baravashi says, Ravashi son hachi kamer. Echad haben v'echad habas shaven b'nechsei ha'em b'nechsei ha'av. We left out a key point in this Mishnah. What we wanted to say was that a son and daughter will inherit whether it's from the father or from the mother. Now, adding in those words, the father, from whether it's the father's inheritance or the mother's inheritance, is now going to resolve the Ella. Because the Ella was talking about, but the only thing is that the father's inheritance will give a double portion. So now we're saying that a son, whether it's a son or whether it's a daughter, they can inherit from the father and from the mother. The only thing is, if it's from the father, Ella Shaben, but the son can get a double portion from the father, but he doesn't get a double portion. Firstborn son gets a double portion from the father. He doesn't get a double portion from the mother's inheritance. Yeah, did you know that? The mother's inheritance doesn't give the firstborn son a double portion. And then we left that out from the Mishnah. The last part of the Mishnah says, and also the daughters, their sustenance comes from the father's inheritance. It doesn't come from the mother's inheritance. The mother's inheritance goes straight to the sons, only to the sons. Yeah, and so what do the daughters live off until they're married? They live off the father's inheritance. If there's not enough, remember, if there's not enough, so then the daughters get the sustenance, and the boys have to knock on doors, have to go knock on and beg. Okay. Huh?
I always remember the old stuff.
We said that the firstborn gets a double portion. Okay. Now, let's say there were two children. Okay. So we divide the double portion. We divide the estate into 3 parts. Yeah. If there's 2 children, we divide the estate into 3 parts. The 1 part goes to the younger son, and 2 parts go to the older son. Now, the older son is not just getting a double portion; he's getting the double of what the other one is getting. Now, let's make it a little harder. Let's say there's not 2 sons, but 3 sons. So now, how many do you divide it into?
50,
So
25,
you could. There's another way of doing it. You can say that he's supposed to get double of what everyone else gets. See, in the last one, he got double of what everyone else got, right? He got double his brother. But here, if you divide it into 4, he's only getting double of each individual, but not double of everyone. We're thinking maybe you should get double of what everyone gets altogether. Let's take a look. He gets a double portion of one of the brothers. Maybe it's not like that. Maybe it's a double portion of everyone. So how would we divide that? You would have to divide it same way, you have to divide it into
Two, and then take one that we find out what would be
I think you'd have to divide it into 3, just like you did last time. Just like when there's one brother.
One of them.
Just like when there's only one younger brother, we divide it into 3. So we would have to divide it into 3, even if there's more. And then the third portion would be everyone would get.
Well, that's the same thing I said,
Yeah.
was count from the other way.
Yeah.
You give them half, they give you double, that's
Right.
2/3.
The same thing happens like when it goes back and it's divided between brothers. That it was like they were like 50%. So one, the other 50 divided by the rest.
Yeah, where was that? But was that when there was more than one brother that we said that?
It was with, I think it was 12.
If there was one other brother, then it would be 50. If there was one brother,
Is Lebensburg on?
no.
Because I don't want to misquote him, but I asked him this because nowadays this would cause a tremendous upheaval in
Oh, firstborn.
inheritance.
Yeah.
So he says the way it's done is the person writes a will or trust. But he says, let's say, what they do is they'll take out, let's say, the first 100,000, 10,000, depending on how much is there. And from that amount, the double portion goes to the before the rest,
Oh,
goes to, right?
uh-huh.
And then everything else is just gifts.
Uh-huh.
That is not.
Uh-huh.
That's,
Uh-huh.
I think what
Like the Stein is explaining that
LP is
according-
understanding and memory of it.
based on his understanding of what Yitzi told him, like the Stein is saying, is that today what they'll do for firstborn is that they'll take some of the money and they'll allow that to be divided halachically, where there's a firstborn portion, a double portion for the firstborn, and that. Then the rest of the money they'll give as gifts.
The
So,
gifts have to be while he's alive. and some
I think-
amount
I
is
think
not
that's how- what they
specified,
do,
like
yeah.
percent,
yeah.
$100.
So in other words, they're able to follow the halacha. They want to follow the halacha of doing the inheritance kosher way, but also they want the. Okay. B'dinhu, Gemara says it's logical. Chalkayim echad. Chalkayim echad v'chalkayim chamisha. If he would have one brother, or he has 5 brothers, ma chalkayim echad pishnayim kechad. Just like when he has one brother, he gets a double of him. Also, if there's 5 brothers, he only gets a double portion of 1. Just like if there was 1, he gets a double portion of 1. So if there's, I thought this was going to go the other way. Say if there's just like when there's 1, you get a double of everyone. It didn't do that. Or maybe kalchala derechsu. Chelkayim echad b'chelkayim hey, ma chelkayim echad pishnayim b'chol anachasim, ma chelkayim hey pishnayim b'chol anachasim. Maybe we should take it the other way. Maybe we should say that you get double of everyone when there's only one brother. So the Gemara says, Talmud Laimar, the pasuk comes to tell me, v'haya b'yom hanchilu espanov, and it will be on the day when he bequeaths to his sons. HaTorah ribsa nachla eitzel achim. The Torah increases the inheritance amongst the brothers. So which means he increases one nachla, one inheritance over the brothers, and not more than that.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I'm having a delayed reaction to what Rennie said, which is really interesting. I'm glad he said it. So that would mean, I would guess, that the gifts are retroactive to when he was still alive, because you can't give a gift. You can't give a gift after you're dead.
Say it, but I think that's written in the trusts.
What did he
Yeah,
say?
he doesn't have that. He doesn't have that in his Messiah. That's exactly what Yitzi said, but he thinks that that's correct.
I think it's written in the trust.
And you
So
think
the
it's written in the
says
trust.
gift, and then
in the
rest-
trust document. So this effectively reduced by giving
Yes.
these gifts retroactively, he effectively reduces the size of the estate, and what's left in the estate gets distributed al pi halacha, is what Rennie's saying.
Right.
That's
Right.
very interesting. Thank you,
Don't
Rennie.
put Rennie until we get it corroborated.
This will be in Divrei Rennie in bold letters.
Okay. So what we're learning from this, that the Torah is giving one extra portion, which means that if there's 2 brothers, you divide into 3. If there's 5 brothers, you divide into 6, right? And that one extra portion goes. We have another source. It says, "Bnei Ruvain Bechar Yisrael, Kihu Bechar." This is like this long pasuk from Divrei Yomim Chronicles. The sons of Ruvain, the firstborn of Israel, because Kihu Bechar was the firstborn of Bechalala Yitzua Yaviv, but when he profaned his father's bed, Nasna Bechirasil V'nei Yosef ben Yisrael, the firstborn was given to the children of Yosef. But not. That's very interesting. Shalom is asking a very good question. He says, "Are you allowed to do that?" You say one of the kids messed up and then take the inheritance.
No, Yosef was the firstborn. Rachel.
Yeah,
That's
but
the
you're not allowed to
firstborn of
choose.
Yaakov.
You're not allowed to choose which firstborn. It's exactly what the Torah says. You're not allowed to do.
It actually doesn't really. talk about it.
They are given first.
It depends who.
What do you say? It's a
I thought-
starke kasha.
I thought the answer was that because Rachel was supposed to be the
Yeah, but
first
you're not allowed
choice.
to. You're not allowed to make that up.
No, I mean, no. Hold on a second.
That's a God.
Rachel was supposed to be. this was
Okay,
like
well, we're gonna learn that.
therefore-
I know, but nevertheless, so the firstborn is the firstborn. Shalom, that's a good question.
This was before the Torah was given.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's one answer. Yeah, it could be the pshat is that the reason why the Torah made this halacha was because of what happened over there, because of what Yaakov did. Yeah, I read this somewhere that the conflict between the brothers and between Rachel and Leah, the Torah comes later on and says that you're not allowed to do this. You know, in other words, exactly this is what the Torah is forbidding. So what Daniel's teretz is that's before the Torah was given. Yeah, but I'm just adding that maybe that's why. You follow?
Yeah, it definitely sounds like that, right? A chada, a ahuva, had a snua, something like that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Do it, shouldn't it technically pass on to the next son, not to the one of the youngest, according to that.
Right. Right. So this is the Shalom's asking it should go to just the next son, like Shimon. Why is it going to here? It's going to the firstborn of the other wife. Exactly like when the Torah, when it says that don't choose the wife that the firstborn of the wife that you love over the wife that you hate. Right? Exactly that term. Yeah, that's a general question.
Yeah. Well, this is a case where we really need halakha. We can't figure it out from the stories in the Torah's Moshe. Because on the one hand, you have Sarah telling her husband, send away Hagar. I mean, Yishmael. And he
Right.
sent away Yishmael and Hagar, and then he sent away all his other concubines and children and gave him
Right.
presents. So that was like primogeniture. But then we have the story of Yaakov. He included his concubines on the same level as his children of his concubines on the same level as his wives.
Right.
So it's totally different approaches.
Uh-huh.
They were also their sister. The concubines were their sister.
No.
Their sisters.
What's
Rachel and
Rachel and Leah.
sisters.
they were sisters. They were
The
concubines.
concubines were their sisters.
So why were they concubines? Because they were born from concubines of Laban, the same father. Yeah,
All
so
four?
but they could have been treated. What he's saying is they could have been treated like concubines because they were. Right?
All four were loving fathers.
That's what the Medrash said. Okay. So we but not for firstborn. This was just for inheritance. No, for firstborn, that was something else. And it says regarding that, the firstborn, it says Ki Yehuda gavar be'echav lenaged mimeno. Okay. Let me see if I read that passage correct. No, B'habachira liYosef. Yehuda prevailed over his brothers, and the prince came from him, but the birthright was Yosef's. So I thought before we said, given to the sons of Israel, yet not so that he was to be reckoned in the genealogy as the firstborn. According to the Rashbam, this means to say, in any event, Reuben continues to be called the firstborn of Yaakov. Rabbeinu Gershom Aragel explains that although by virtue of historical fact Reuben remains the firstborn, Jacob transferred the status of the firstborn to Yosef.
Oh, there's
It says Rabachir li Yosef. Okay.
Wouldn't the firstborn be something as if a baby in the either born, firstborn, or born baby born?
Like
Yeah. So when it comes to the dividing the land, though, who's getting the double portion? That he was saying that he was giving to Yosef. So it says like this. Nemra b'chayr li Yosef, nemra b'chayr l'Deiros. I have the term b'char regarding Yosef, and I also have the term b'char regarding inheritance. That b'char gets a double portion. Ma b'chayr li Yosef pishnayim kechad. Just like when it came to Yosef, he got just one extra portion, Ephraim and Manasseh, right? Actually, I don't know if that's because of Ephraim and Manasseh. I think he got one extra portion. Also, the firstborn for generations is only one extra, but not double of everyone. We're still and it also says, and I'm giving to you one portion more than your brothers that I got from the Amori with my sword and with my bow. Did he get it with his sword and with his bow? I have a pasuk that says you can't rely on the bow and you can't rely, and the salvation doesn't come from the sword. My sword means prayer. Kashti zubakasha. And my bow, that means request, supplication. My va'imer, why do I need the extra pasuk? Now, which va'imer is this referring to? We had a few va'imers here. Va'imer b'nei Ruvain. The first va'imer was b'nei Ruvain. Because v'chitema haikel Rabbi Yochanan ben Brekudas, maybe it could say that all it's saying is that you're allowed to give an inheritance to a relative that's going to be inheriting anyway, but it doesn't tell me how much of that it's really a firstborn. So I could have said that was just a Rabbi Yochanan ben Breka type of inheritance. Tashema b'nei Ruvain b'char Yisrael. It says no, we're dealing with b'nei Ruvain the b'char, and we're passing it over to Yosef. Maybe when it says over here, b'chayrasai livnei Yosef ben Yisrael. It's b'chayrasai, and we're trying to learn b'char from the word b'chayrasai. It says Tashma v'b'chayra li Yosef. So we quote another pasuk, Ki Yehuda gavar be'echav lenaged mimeno v'b'chayra li Yosef, that we're actually using the word b'chayra, which is exactly the word that we wanted to learn from. B'chitei Yosef kufei. Maybe Yosef himself might have pishnayim kecharavi. How do you know that Yosef himself got just one extra portion? Maybe Yosef got a portion so big that it's equal to all other 12 tribes. Tashma b'ninasat shechem achad alachecha, be one extra portion. It wasn't as big as it was just one place. Ema Dikla Ba'alma. Maybe how do you know he gave him equal to one of the brothers? Maybe he just gave him an extra palm tree. Says that Ephraim and Menashe will be like Reuven and Shimon, which means that there was a portion like Reuven and Shimon, equivalent to that.
But it doesn't get into how.
So,
they can switch to the report. It just doesn't talk about it.
no, that's not mentioned there. So, in conclusion of the Gemara, are we saying that Ephraim and Menashe, that's considered a double portion, or and that's the firstborn? Like there would have been only for Ephraim or something, and then now Menashe got, okay, now that's Yosef's double portion. Or are we saying that there was something else besides for that? What is the Gemara saying?
I think they're saying that Joseph is one portion. But he's getting double because one is going to find they're each getting the equivalent of a single portion of the same.
So is it a each? So in other words, Ephraim got a portion similar to Reuven, Menashe got a portion similar to Shimon. In other words, it was amongst Yosef there was a double portion. Okay. So what's the Shechem Achad? What's that extra portion that he's telling him?
Because it means Joseph got the double portion.
So that means a whole portion. Okay.
What about the actual?
Yeah,
Sorry, the actual city of Shechem. That also was given to Yosef, right? I thought that's also a reference to that. The Shechem Achad.
Yeah, but I don't know. I wouldn't know like where that fits in. Was that totally extra, or was that part of the equal?
Yeah, I guess it was part of the equal distribution.
What do you say? Do you have any notes on that? From the city of Shechem itself? Let me see. Let me take a look at this.
Just a joke. It's good to remember.
You ready, Reb Naftali? Go ahead.
Said it once was enough.
He said we're going from the shoulder to the elbow because it says from Shechem to Reb Chelbo. Okay.
We got it down. So
Okay.
So I have a quick question about what we've learned about Pishanayim so far.
Yeah.
We've learned from the story of Zelophehad's daughters that the Pishanayim included the right that their father earned when he left Mitzrayim to get part of Israel.
Right.
And we're learning that that was muksak, because we learned somewhere else, I forget where, that someone has to be in hand. But if a father has an IOU, somebody owes him money.
Right.
That's not included, is it?
Right. It's not.
So
That's right.
So somehow the Kalakas Haaretz was treated differently than other things as far as Pishanayim.
Right.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Here we have some. I got it there. It says, "Baimini Rav Chelbai, Rav Shmuel bar Nachmani." Rav Chelbai asked Rav Shmuel bar Nachmani, "Mara Yaakov shnatal b'chayrim miRuvein v'nastal Yosef." What did Yaakov see that he took the firstborn from Reuven and he gave it to Yosef? So Rav Shmuel bar Nachmani says, "Mara," he tells Rav Chelbai, what did he see? It's it says clearly he profaned his father's bed. Alamar Rosh Shenasna LeYosef. Reb Chalbe says, why did he give it to Yosef? Right? I think that may be Shalom's question. The Emshal Alach Mashal. So
Another question.
so Reb Shmuel Bar
Why
Nachmani.
they couldn't give it to Shimon because it would have hurt.
Rabbi Akiva. No, they
No, it
can
would
Rabbi
have
Yeshua.
hurt.
They can give it to Rabbi Yeshua.
That would have hurt. Same thing here. You can't give it to Yosef. He literally told the reason why they moved into that tent because of children. So he moved and now he's given.
The whole thing with the tent was that he preferred the concubine before his mother.
Whose tent was Yaakov's bed in? Bilhah.
And he moved it to.
He moved it to
after-
Leah, but it wasn't. He moved from. Oh, you're saying.
Instead of going to
Shalom's asking that in the story with when Rabbi Gamliel lost the Nesias, so they moved they took the Nesias away from him and they gave it to Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. They didn't give it to Rabbi Yeshua because he was the one that was involved. They couldn't take it from him again. So he's asking, how could over here Yaakov takes the firstborn, he takes it from Reuben and he gives it to Yosef, and Yosef was part of the problem. The problem because Rachel passed away, and that's what you're saying. Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, it's not direct, you know.
Isn't it just as simple as, don't the Perusians say, because he was setting things right spiritually? Because that was the way it was meant to be originally?
Okay,
It was,
let's
and
take a
it
look at the
didn't-
Gemara.
it
The
didn't
Gemara
know.
says, "Mashallah Davidayim." What is this similar to? This is Shmuel Bar Nachmani telling. If you have a homeowner that he raises an orphan in his house. Now, this is exactly the opposite of what you would think. This is the homeowner here is going to be Yosef, and the orphan here is Yaakov. Liyamim, Yosef. Well, that orphan becomes wealthy. He says, let me give something to the balabayas. He did so much for me, let me give him something. So what we're saying here is that Yosef supported Yaakov when he came to Egypt. Now Yaakov has some extra property. He says, let me give some of that property to Yosef. He was so good to us. Amarle, so he says, the Reb Chalbe says, he loved the Chata Ruvain. Also, it's only because Reuben sinned that Yaakov gives to Yosef. If he wouldn't sin, he wouldn't give him anything. Yeah, that's another Gemara. Remember where that is in Shabbos. Gemara Shabbos. I think it's Taflamed or something. Yeah. And it means on our level. You can see it. Ella Rab Yonasan Rabach Lekachamar. So Rab Chalbe says to Rab Shmuel Bar Nachmani, didn't Rab Yonasan, your teacher, say the following? Usually it says, I'm Rab Shmuel Bar Nachmani, I'm Rab Yonasan. Rab Shmuel Bar Nachmani was the student of Rab Yonasan. It says, he said, really, the firstborn was supposed to come from Rachel. The Ksiv Ela told us Yaakov, Yosef. It says, this is the children of Yaakov, and it says Yosef. That's it. Like that's the main child. Elisha Kadmas Leah Barachmim, but Leah came first because of davening. We take tznius, right? About Rachel. But because Rachel was modest, Echzira Kadosh Baruch Hu Hashem returned it to her. My Kadmas Leah Barachmim. What do you mean that Leah came first because of Rachamim? The Ksiv, the pasuk says, "Veni Leah Rakis." The eyes of Leah were soft. My Rakis, what does it mean soft? Ile Marakis Mamish doesn't mean that they're literally soft. It means like they were dripping with tears. Efshe begnus behemat mele dibrakasav. Ksiv mina behemat ta'ira mina behema sheinena ta'ira begnus tzadikim dibrakasav. If the Torah is so careful not to say something negative, it won't even say an impure animal. It says an animal that's not. They won't say tamid. We'll say not tahar, not pure. And now it's going to speak bad about Leah. What it means is that the gifts that Leah got lasted a long time.
She bore Yaakov's
What are the gifts? The gifts are Kahuna and Labia that come from Levi, and the kingship, which comes from Yehuda. All right.
The Rosh said that she didn't have the cardinals so much.
Rav Amar. Rav says, Leilam Rakis Mamish. It means that it's actually soft. But it's not considered something shameful. It's a praise for her. So we're following here what Rav says in order to get back to what we wanted. Because she would hear in the crossroads. The crossroads means where the people would gossip. It's like the
Street corners.
yeah, the inn, like the rest stop, those like the restaurants in there. Everyone, Ishvikranis. It says that she heard of the Bnei Adam, she heard the people say, Rivka has 2 sons, and Lavan has 2 daughters. The big daughter will go to the big son. And the young daughter will go to the young son. So she would sit there and she asked, tell me about the personality of the actions of the older son. They said, Ishrahu malastim brius. He's a bad guy and he's a swindler. Katan mamaisa, what's about this? What's with the son? What's with the young son? Ishtam yeshavaylam, he's a peaceful man. He sits in the tent. She cried until her eyelashes fell out. That's what it says. Hashem saw that Leah was hated. My snua, what does it mean hated? Shifter means literally hated. It's a good Torah would say something negative about Leah. I'm not sure if it means Leah or Yaakov over here, because probably Leah. Ella Ra, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Shesnua Maisa Esav. Before now, Hashem saw that Hashem saw that she hated the behavior of Esav. Before now, the Yiftachas Rachma, and so he opened up her womb. And so she merited to have the child first. Okay.
That's what Reuben was named after. Hashem saw my.
Now, right, my affliction. So, what was the modesty of Rachel? Yaakov tells Rachel that he's her father's brother. Rivka, and that he's the son of Rivka. What are you talking about? He's not his father's brother. He's the father's sister's son. What do you mean I'm your father's brother? She's not Rachel's uncle. He's her cousin. Right? Rivka and Lavan were brother and sister. Elam Allah, rather, he told her the following. He says, Mincivusly, marry me. Amrale, she said to him, okay. That was it. That's the whole proposal. that was good. Mio Abaramahu, there's just one problem. My father is a swindler. You're not going to be able to, it's not going to work out. Amrala, Myra must say, what tricks does he do? Amra lay, she said to him, Isli achsa the kshishaminai. I have an older sister. He's not going to let me marry before her. Amrala, he said, I'm also a swindler, just like him. Amrale, so she said, Amrale, she says, is that allowed? You're allowed to be tzaddikim are allowed to be swindlers? And he says, yeah, with this type of person, you act the same way, and with the swindler, you act like a swindler.
Whole thing with the Arabs. Gotta hit them with the same.
Masala simanim. We can't repeat that. Masala simanim. He gave her signs. What were the signs? It doesn't say. Rashi doesn't say. Rashbam rather doesn't say. Kikamaili lalaleya. When they were bringing Leah and Savra, so she thought this is Rachel. My sister's going to be so ashamed because she's not going to know the signs. So must gave the signs to her. That's what it means in the morning. Saw that it was Leah. Until now, it wasn't Leah. Didn't know until the morning.
Does that make Rachel?
Now, well, what happened to the tznius over here? Why is that called tznius?
Secret code.
What do you want? So they're saying that Rachel was also swimming, but she didn't do the sign thing.
Rachel's revelation of the signs to her sister is the act of modesty, which the Bechira was restored to. Rachel did not want it to become known that Jacob had given her signs by which to identify her. By passing these signs along to her sister, Rachel delayed discovery of the substitution until morning, when recognition will not depend on the sign, on knowledge of the signs. Thus, the existence of the signs would never be known. Concealing from public knowledge Jacob's private arrangement with her, even at so great a cost to herself, was a great act of modesty. You hear that? It's not revealing. She could have revealed to everyone. It's not me. She have to say the sign. She could have just showed up, outside. I'm not.
You could give a white
Just
line.
wave to him.
Right.
The crowd just wave to him.
Yeah. You're allowed to give a white line in order to protect someone's.
Rachel for giving her son. So now she and her sister.
Good question. Where was Rachel the whole wedding?
Right.
She was being Sanua.
Oh, maybe that's the
What
percent.
did he say?
Where was Rachel the whole wedding? She was being Tanua.
She was like,
She had to because the whole plan would go down.
Okay. Now the Gemara says, "Boimine Abba Khalifa Kruya."
maybe that's why I
Rabbi
said
Barabba.
before, maybe that's how she's showing Yaakov. Don't worry, I can also be deceitful. Play the game, and therefore hang in there for me. Which I said my father's deceitful. You said you're deceitful, and I'm saying, watch this. I'm deceitful too. Don't
So
get me
Dr.
started.
Stein is saying that Rachel is able to be deceitful and to give the signs because she learned from Yaakov. She asked Yaakov the question, "Are you allowed to do this?" Yaakov said, "Yeah." And so Yaakov was like setting the example of.
So she showed that I'm worthy.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, but at that point, she's still more obligated to her father than to Yaakov. She's still under her father's issues, whatever that means.
Yeah, whatever that means.
Okay. Rab Abba Khalifa asked Reb Chia Bar Abba, "B'chlala not the mitzvah shivim, b'prat not the mitzvah shivim chaser echad." If you count out the people coming down to Egypt, it says that there's 70. But if you count them out, it says 70. But if you count it out, there's really only 69. Amalei. So Reb Chia Bar Abba says, "Tuma ha'isem Dina." Dina had a sister. Dina had a sister. The Ksiv Dina Bita says ve'ace. See that extra word ace? That means that it's coming to include someone that was born together with Dina. Alamiyata to Maisim bin Binyamin. So then, twin sister. So, And there was a twin that was born with Binyamin also. It says Veis Binyamin Achiv, Ben Imai. And also it says,
He was born with two sisters.
yeah. But it says, and then Binyamin also had a twin.
Didn't we always say Yocheved was the?
Oh, so 1 second. Amar, he says like this. Margolis Tevais Biadi. I had a pearl. Batamavakish Labda Mimeni. You want me to lose it? You want me to lose this pearl? That means you want me to reveal something that I've been keeping a secret.
Yomi has twin brother or sister.
Uma, twin sister. He says, Amar Rab Chama Bar Chanina, Zu Yecheved. It's referring to Yecheved, Shahirasa, Baderech, the Leidasa Ben Achemes. She was conceived on the road and she was given birth between the walls. Shenemar, it says in the Pasuk, Asher Yolda Isel Levi b'Mitzrayim, Leidasa b'Mitzrayim, Ein Rasa b'Mitzrayim. This is the second time that we're having this here, right? Kufchaf, 2 pages ago. Boimine Reb Chelbaim Reb Shmuel Bar Nachmani. Reb Chelbaim asked Reb Shmuel Bar Nachmani something else. It was when Rachel gave birth to Yosef. This was when Yaakov calls him aside and says, I want to go back. I want to leave. Says, why did he do this only after Yosef was born? Amalei. So Reb Shmuel Bar Nachmani responded, Ra Yaakov Avinu shein zar shel Yosef nimtzer el biad zar shel Yosef. Yaakov Avinu knew that in order to attack Esav, he could only do that if he has Yosef, because he saw that in the future that Esav's descendants will only be handed over to Yosef's descendants. Remember, Bahaya Beis Yaakov Eish, Beis Yosef Lahava, Beis Esav Lakash. Beis Yaakov Eish, says Lahav, Beis Esav Lakash. Yaakov is fire. Yosef is fire, is the flame, and Esav is straw. Sorry, Sean. What's this pasuk in Ovadia? Esve, he asked him a question. It means that when later on, and when they're in the land of Israel, and they're going to be fighting with Amalek, Esav, it's going to be Yosef is going to be the one that's going to be victorious. Like even in the desert, I think it was Yeshua led the war, right? Yeshua comes from Yosef. It says Vayakim David. It came from Ephraim. Yakim David me aneshav ad erev l'machrasam. It says that David hit them, the Amalek, from the morning till evening, from the following day. So David is not from Yosef. David is from David. It's from Yehuda. Amalei. Apparently, your teacher only taught you the prophets, but he didn't teach you the writings. The ksiv, because it says in Divrei Yamim, in the ksuvim, it says Belechti el tziklak naflo alei mi Menashe. Then I don't know how to read these names. Adna v'Yuzvad v'Yediel v'Michal v'Yuzvad v'Eliu v'Tzalsi Roshi Alaf Mashel Menashe. All of these people that came along together with that battle. All these people were from Menashe. Menashe are descendants of Yosef. See? So the battle with Amalek was really won by these troops that came from Menashe, which is Yosef. Masif Rab Yosef. Rab Yosef has a question. Mehem and Bnei Shimon holchular seir anashim lechamesh meis upalti venare v'rafi v'zil bnei Yishi v'reisham v'yakov sheres apleita la'Amalek. It says that these people from the tribe of Shimon came, and they fought with Amalek, and they won. He told me that it's only going to be people from Yosef that can win over Esav. Says, well, Amar Rabba Bar Shila. Rabba Bar Shila says, Yishi mibnei Menashe asi diksiv mibnei Menashe chefer v'Yishi. Yishi is actually a descendant of Menashe from Yosef. And that answers the question. Okay, let's leave it over here. Right? The Tanur Rabbanan. Still a page behind.
What's your page when you have?
That's a note.